So now I'm going to talk a little bit about why Alaskan sawmills, what applications Alaskan sawmills would be better suited for. I mean, one, they're cheaper. Just straight up, if you have a chainsaw, this Alaskan sawmill, this cost me, I think it was around $300. So the cheapest bandsaw you could buy is a couple grand. Just the movability of it, you know, this thing probably with the power head, a chainsaw on it, might weigh 45, 50 pounds. We just cut up an oak that was surrounded by swamp, and there was no way to get a bandsaw in there or drag the tree out, so the Alaskan sawmill and that application was perfect because we could just carry it all in, cut up what we wanted, and drag out, 600-pound slabs instead of, a couple thousand-pound trunk. So in conclusion, they're lighter, cheaper. Any standard chainsaw will fit on it. You don't have to buy anything special for it. Yeah, you just slide the bar through these two clamps. And then you just put the metal bracket in the center and just tighten it down. And then most of you probably know this, but in the tip of your bar, chainsaw bar, there's a sprocket in there that spins. So you do not want the front end of your Alaskan sawmill to pinch where that sprocket would be. So the sprocket comes this far from here to here. So then from here to roughly there, you do not want to smush that sprocket. It will ruin it.
So what we're using here is we've got some 2x4s, 12 feet long. We just put braces so it would hold it rigid and flat, and then we cut down the middle just so there's no bumps. And this is what you would run the saw off of the top of for the first cut, just to make it so it's a flat cut. You can also use like an aluminum ladder if you have that, or you could fabricate a metal jig that'll do the same thing. But this works for us right now. What you want to do is, since it's a pretty straight log, you measure from the top of here to the center of the pith, and you want that measurement to pretty much be the same for both sides, so when you cut through it lines up pretty well. You also want both ends of the log on the same plane, so the easiest way to do that would be to put a level on both ends and then look down it obviously and make sure it's straight. We just end up putting some screws in it on both ends and in the middle, and then if the log isn't that straight, you would also want to put shims in it to keep it from bowing when you get the weight of the saw on it, because it'll end up bowing down and won't be flat. But you also want to make sure that when on your first cut you set the saw so it misses the screws, because you don't want to be cutting through those. On this specific sawmill, there's two bolts that you loosen to adjust the heights, and it's got increments on it.
If you're not ever going to cut anything past, 2 foot in diameter or 36 inches in diameter, then you probably be better off getting a smaller Alaskan sawmill, because this one can extend up to 48 inches, but that's what we wanted because we cut into some pretty thick logs. But as you can see, with a smaller bar, a smaller cut, we got all this overhang and leverage that makes it a little bit harder to maneuver the saw.
also recommended that you wear some type of mask when you're cutting, because it does throw off a lot of sawdust in your face. You're kind of sitting right in it, breathing it in. But
Dude.
You don't really have to go as deep as we do, but we like to just go that deep just to make sure we're missing the screws. And then once we unscrew it, we'll go back on the back side of this, cut another maybe 1.5 to 2 inches off of that, so there's not really much waste. That And there we go. We got 2 nice beams and some boards out of it. That's what you can do in an Alaskan sawmill. That's why they're pretty handy. We're gonna make a platform out of these to put our logs on, make it easier to cut them.